All right, guys, what's happening? Robert here with a major news alert update. Let me fix my mic here really quick. All right, that should be better. Hopefully you guys can hear me now. God bless. I'm glad that you're all here, and thank you very much for that coffee, who that is. V. Latoma, thank you very much. Peace in the Middle East, he says. Yes, peace in the Middle East, but I don't think that's going to happen. In spite of the mantra, the Bible says the mantra would be peace and security. But then it says, behold, sudden destruction will come upon them. Now, is this the moment for the mantra of peace and security? I'm just going to tell you right now, it does look like that. The crescendo of peace and security in the negotiations with Israel over the years has continued all the way up until Donald Trump. But it seems that Donald Trump, it started off with a soft melody during Carter, and it has continued building its momentum and its intensity. And now it's like Ozzy Osbourne, Crazy Train, off the rails. We're at the end. We're in the end game now. This is the fulfillment of, I believe, what prophecy said would take place right before all these bad things begin. And it looks to me like you've got China now and Russia involved, and they're sending weapons right now. We're going to show you guys all the information. It's going to blow your mind. Tell me that we're not on the brink of global war. Not only global collapse. And you know what's crazy is that people believe what Donald Trump says. And for anybody that knows and it has some discernment about biblical teaching, because it really has to do with biblical teaching. Because if I wasn't a student of Scripture, if I wasn't a student of Bible prophecy, I wouldn't know either. I would be completely hoping that Donald Trump is actually going to save the world. But he's not. In fact, he's delivering the world up for this chaotic moment in time, this war that is going to be the war the Bible speaks about that would encompass the whole world. That would be a global war like we've never seen. And we're talking about something much worse than World War I or World War II with the technologies that we have today. So I'm going to show you guys all the news articles coming out about what just happened in the last 24 hours. Which I think is very significant and everybody should be paying attention to, because we are so close to the fan being hit that it ain't even funny. And most people don't really think of the possibilities of what could potentially happen if this truly is those biblical end time wars that we see building. You can only let your mind just, do that overlay of what you see prophecy teach onto our day. You put that little overlay and you say, wow, how is America going to fare? How are we going to come through? We think we're secure because we're surrounded by oceans. But I have to wonder if we're not the revived Roman Empire, but I believe that, but I think that we're a part of that whole system. But I think that we are the city that commerce city that is destroyed in a day. It says within an hour it's destroyed. And I have a feeling that what we're seeing developing now with China and Russia's involvement and their existential, Trump is pushing them to the edge, is what it looks like to me. And not only is he pushing Iran to the edge, Cuba's on the edge. They've embargoed Cuba to the point where this is very similar to what happened in World War II, except it's much worse. We embargoed Japan, and the reason why we got involved in the war was because Japan attacked us. Because why? We cut their island off. We didn't allow any oil to go in. Same thing's happening to Cuba. Their lights are off. There's no power. They can't get any jet fuel. There's no international flights. They're basically falling apart. The whole country is falling apart. And now that we're talking Iran, this could be the moment that we're attacked even if we don't do anything in Iran, even if we just stand back and just watch and kind of wait, there may be a possibility that what China and Russia are doing, not only are they arming Iran right now, they're sending in huge amounts of cargo. They are sending them probably the latest weapons, the best defenses, and they're probably sending them nukes. Because if you'll remember, and I bring this up whenever we talk about this, the tweet of Donald Trump back, 8-10 months ago, when he was very angry at Putin for having mentioned the N-word. And what was the N-word? The nuclear word. The nuclear word. He didn't like that because what Putin said was that Iran could easily have a warhead delivered to them. It has nothing to do with their enrichment of uranium. Because if they really wanted warheads, they could have a state like China or Russia deliver them warheads. And what was happening at that time? Well, there was a bunch of deliveries on these big C-17s or whatever they are that the Chinese have. One after another was flying into Iran at the time. And remember, the 12-day war, Israel wanted it to stop. It wasn't Iran that wanted it to stop. It was Israel. You know why? Because Israel was being pummeled by hypersonic missiles. And I don't know if they're thinking a better scenario is going to be the outcome this time, or they're going to end up trying to nuke Iran, because really it's going to nuclear fisticuffs. That's where I think it's going. I don't think there's any other way around it. I think that we're literally looking down the barrel of a nuclear gun. And whether they're tacticals or whether they're continent killers, only God knows. But I do believe we're on the brink of seeing nuclear exchanges. And Donald Trump would be the perfect man to do it. He's got the personality. His mindset is just right there. And that's why Putin and I think China and Xi Jinping are in this. And then I go back to Dmitry Duduman's prophecies, and it all looks like it fits. And if you haven't been listening to some of the things I've said about that, and some would discount this as, spiritual conspiracies or this spiritualizing these events. But I'll just tell you this much. I've seen enough to know that there are prophecies and there are true prophets that do see things in the future. I mean, I could just say for my own self, I'm sure a lot of you out there can say the same thing. You've had dreams that have happened. Have you ever had a dream that actually came to pass? I mean, literally specific things in a dream that actually happened. Days later, weeks later, maybe a month later, maybe a year later. I've had dreams that have come to pass very quickly, and then dreams that have come to pass years down the road. Maybe a preparation type thing to get us give me some time to get ready. I've been warning about a lot of stuff for the last 15 years, and some of you guys may have been following me. You know what I'm talking about. I'm just going to say, I hope you're all ready. So let's go ahead and look at some of the news stories here. Let's see where I'm at here. Okay. We're going to pull up our Telegram page. We chronicle a lot of what's happening here right here on Telegram, if you didn't know. And so we're going to look at some of that right now. And by the way, if you happen to miss the broadcast this morning, for those who are believers and those that do know their Bibles, and if you don't know the Bible, it doesn't matter. If you don't know your Bible, hey, show up. You can still glean a lot of information that I think will help give you an understanding and a little bit of peace in the midst of what's happening. But we talked in depth on some topics that I think are very relevant, and I do believe the Spirit of God speaks to the church, and we should all be listening. And so I would encourage you, if you didn't see that broadcast this morning, to go watch it. Does anybody have the link to that? Somebody post that link if you can. It's on the BP Ministries channel. If you type in BP Ministries, you can just go find it on YouTube if you don't know how to get there, and then just go watch the last video. It was a live video. It wasn't just an upload. It was a live. So we do live videos over there every once in a while. And by the way, we are we do have that app. Make sure you're connected to the app. I think I have the app ad here. Let me make sure I have that app ad on here, because I think it's so important to get connected to the app. And if you're not connected to the app, do it. The links are in the description. Make sure you subscribe with your phone number if you want to get a text alert. Whenever breaking news happens, if it's a major news event, if war breaks out in the middle of the night, I will send you a text. I also will send you a push notification. If you're just a casual user and you don't really want your phone number on there, well, that's fine too. You don't have to put your phone number there, but you'll get a push notification. It's a little bit different. It doesn't go directly to your phone number. But I would say register with the app, because there's a big community of us that are on the app that have registered and that have the ability to interact. And at a certain point, we're going to enable a few of those features here in a little bit. But we are doing our Zoom fellowships here. I think we might end up opening it up to some free, we've got the patrons involved, but, and we do want support, and that's why we got Patreon. But we'll just end up taking an offering. I think that's the best way to do it. Just have everybody come on over. Everybody's involved. We're trying to just kind of manage, the income that we need by doing this full time. So in the meantime, let's get into the news. For those who aren't a part of the ministry, don't even pay attention to this, but do pay attention to what we're saying here about God, because that's the most important thing. It's not just being prepared in the natural, it's also being prepared in the spirit. You got to have your wits about you. You got to know what's right. You got to know what's wrong, and you got to be ready. Amen. Okay, so let's just go from the beginning, from today. We'll get into the Iran stuff here in just a moment, but we're going to start from the beginning of this day, February 16th. Time is almost up. This was a video that Iran put out, and obviously they're putting out this video because they're trying to deter an attack. Now, some would say they need to actually detonate a nuke to dissuade the U.S. from attacking. Maybe that would be a way for them to show that they are serious and they're not going to go, they're going to use it if they happen to get attacked. But this is a video that Iran put out. And you would say it's a propaganda video. It's definitely AI. This is showing the Israeli underground bunkers being hit with bunker busters. And so Iran is basically saying they have the ability to hit these underground bunkers with bunker busters. They have the ability to take out THAADs and the Iron Dome. There's nothing that can stop their hypersonic missiles. And if you listen to the actual commentary on this video, it sounds very Western. Obviously, they did this for the Western audience. And this missile that this new missile they have is hypersonic. And it's capable of re-entry at Mach 16. There's nothing that really can stop a missile coming in at Mach 16. And how many of these missiles do they have? A lot. I'm sure they have a lot. And do they have nuclear-tipped missiles? If they were ever in a situation that would require them to use a hypersonic nuclear-tipped tactical weapon, would they do it? I think they might. Just like the U.S. would use a tactical and or a large nuke on Nagasaki and Hiroshima in order to stop what we considered at the time an existential threat. So if Iran has that sense that their existence is at threat, is threatened, do you think that they would use a nuke if they had it? And if they were delivered one by China or Russia, well, there's a possibility they might. So this is what they just posted today. And this was the broadcast that we did earlier this morning. You might want to go check that out. 2006 is the year of the horse, and it begins on the 17th of February. This is the new year for the Chinese. The year of the horse, and it is red, and that is the horse of war, according to the four horsemen of the apocalypse. And it just so happens that it's happening at a time when Purim is taking place in Israel. And this has everything to do with the Persian Empire of old. If you don't know your biblical story or your biblical history, you might want to see the connections here to Purim. This is at a time when all the Israelis were threatened with complete annihilation by the Persians, by the Persian king, by an edict. And this so happens to be the third complete lunar eclipse that is going to be happening on that date. Actually, I'm sorry. The Purim, the full, let's see. Did I do that wrong? Okay, so, well, there's three blood moons that happen on Purim from 2024, 2025, and now again 2026. Purim this year is March 2nd. And by the way, thank you for that coffee. That would be Truth Matters. Brenda, thank you very much. Appreciate that. And that would be, let me just put that over here out of the way. So February 17th starts the Chinese New Year, and then it says here that, Muslim holiday, the Muslim Ramadan. So this is Muslim Ramadan. That also begins. So for those who don't know what Ramadan is, that's happening tomorrow as well. The start of Ramadan. Tell me that ain't weird. And then you've got like we were saying, there is a huge possibility that something could happen on this day or in the days very shortly here coming, that there is a lot of occult activity that happens on this day too. So we have the third blood moon on Purim occurring in 2 weeks, which would be March 2nd and March 3rd. And if you know anything about what Jews believe and what biblical scripture seems to teach in symbolism, is that the moon obviously represents the eastern nations, and the sun represents the nations in general, the goyim, as the Jews would call us, the goyim, or the Gentiles, right? So when there is a solar eclipse, it usually bodes bad. It's a foreboding of bad tidings to come for the nations. But if it's a blood moon, it speaks of bad tidings for the Semitic people. And the Semitic people would not just be the Jews, it would also encompass all of the Middle Eastern people, right? So Iran would be in that category as well. But I do believe this is a foreboding of things to come for Israel as well. Bad times, Jacob's trouble. Yes, that's what I believe we're in now, Jacob's trouble. This is Catherine Austin Fitz, and I believe she's talking about Epstein. And she's, by the way, she was a cabinet member, I believe, under Bush Sr., or it might have been Bush Jr. I'm not exactly sure. She was, I want to say Health and Human Services, or maybe she was, I think she was pretty high level. But she said that Trump was not just a friend of Epstein, but an integral part of an operation. And if you really look deeply into what's going on here, you might be questioning whether or not that's true, because it could very well be. I think there's a lot of stuff that's pointing in that direction. This administration is the Epstein network, is what she said. Wow. That's coming from Catherine Austin Fitz. And if you don't know who she is, you might want to go check her out. She's got some interesting commentary. and I agree with her in many ways. The Wizard of Oz was standing behind the curtain all along. He tricked everyone with his white magic talk, his white hat talk, white magic, white hat, same thing. Same coin, different side, good cop, bad cop, tree of the knowledge of both good and evil, right? He comes to you speaking like butter and oil, but in his heart is a drawn sword. So it's all about deception. It's all about perceptions. It's all about hiding what's really a veneer of war under the guise of peace. And this is exactly what the end time scenario said would take place. Magic talk. It's called Trump chaos talk because that's what he's practicing is chaos magic. And if you don't know what chaos magic is, he is the storm. And you know where that comes from? It doesn't come from Q. It actually comes from Trump himself. He said he is the storm. And if you don't know who Baal is, he is the god of the storm. And what is the statue of Baal with its fist up in the air? And why are they calling all of this new rebuild over on the East Wing? They call it the Baal room, the Baal room, or the ballroom, the Baal room, which really looks like a temple. If you really look at the structure of the new ballroom that Trump is building, it's in the exact fashion and layout as the temple. And I was just looking at some stuff about the actual Ark of the Covenant that Trump had in his Mar-a-Lago. He basically was the first one to exhibit it. It was made to spec. It was made according to the ancient pattern, and the way it was made was meant to be made. They couldn't use certain tools. I mean, it was made in a certain way. And this thing was made with all the gold that it took to make this thing exactly the way the Bible said. And they made this thing and they displayed it in his Mar-a-Lago. Do you think that's going to be in this new ballroom? Not to mention everything else that he's done with the crown of Jerusalem, and he's got he was given the crown of Jerusalem as well as the menorah that connects everything to Jesus's words about Antiochus Epiphany, and I know I'm losing some people here because I know some people don't know what I'm talking about, but when you talk about Matthew 24, we're talking about the end days. It's all connected to Antiochus Epiphany and the Festival of Lights and the menorah. And when he was delivered that menorah, this is why we get into the depths of prophecy, because we've decoded and we've deciphered and we've explained in detail with everything pointing to the fulfillment of some of these prophecies right now. And Donald Trump is the one that fulfilled them. Okay, and if you haven't been listening to me, you have no clue what's actually happening right now. You are completely oblivious. You know that there's something bad going on in the Middle East. That's a given. Everybody should know that. But you don't know what the time is and how close we are to these biblical prophecies happening or being completed. They're already happening. They've been happening we've chronicled a whole bunch of things that have happened in the last 5 years, but we're talking about the end game now. That is the last minutes, the last seconds of the last minute. Anyways, so she goes on to say, why do you think that Marina Abramovich called Trump the magician of the highest order? And Marina Abramovich is the highest level witch in Hollywood and politics. She basically is a mentor to some of the high-level occultists in the industry. Lady Gaga, Hillary Clinton. You know Hillary Clinton's a witch, right? You know she's a part of a coven of very high-level witches, right? You didn't know about that? Well, there's some really interesting commentary about all that, by the way. You should get in and really find out and know that that's not just hearsay or some, conspiracy Christians have. It's reality, and you can find out all this stuff. But anyway, Marina Abramovich called Trump the magician of the highest order because all of the high-level shamans, they're kind of like her prophets of Baal. If you remember, Jezebel had a whole entourage of prophets they called the prophets of Baal. She has what they call the the shamans that do collective dreaming where they fast and pray and they go into this meditative state. Some of them may take some type of psychedelics. I don't know. They use drugs sometimes, but they all get into this meditative state where they're deprived of all external stimulus over a period of time, and they collectively dream and they get in touch with the powers that rule the earth, right? These high-level demonic forces. We call them principalities and powers. And so they told these shamans that Trump was of the highest order of chaotic magician that was going to awaken the world, and that he was going to, they told her this back in 2016. 17. She came out when everybody hated Trump. She kind of let the cat out of the bag. She ended up doing another conversation about that same topic a couple years later and said the same exact thing. At this time, more people were aware of what Trump was all about, but she already knew. She already knew because she's a very high-level occultist. We knew in 2020 what was going on, but a lot of people didn't. So anyway, so you, and then if you don't know what the word MAGA means, it means witch in Latin. And it's also a very high level. It's the highest level in the Church of Satan. The MAGA is the high. There's 5 levels of practitioner, and the highest level is the MAGA position. So it's also a witch in Latin. That's what it means in Latin, and it's also the highest level in Satanism. So Satan was behind the deception, and he used the Christians as part of the ritual to usher him in, along with his occult golden age, which all is occultic. The whole golden age is going way back to the golden dawn and the whole reset of humanity and what we call the order out of chaos model. And this is what America and its destiny was intended for, was to bring about this global consciousness. If you didn't know that we were the new Atlantis, you need to go and do some research on that. But the whole ritual of Osiris rising takes place every single inauguration by the Masons in D.C. every single year, every single 4 years when there's or every single 8 years, whenever there's a inauguration, it takes place. And they have a very deep understanding of that at a certain point. Not only do all presidents receive or invoked or conjured this spirit to possess them, but at a certain point, a president will be completely possessed in their understanding of what America's destiny will ultimately be fulfilled with by this demonic power. And they believe that that will happen in the future, which I think took place in the Capitol building, because that is the womb, that represents the womb of ISIS. And the you have the obelisk, which is also the impregnating of the belly, which is the Capitol. And who was the only president ever to be inaugurated in the Capitol? Donald Trump. There was one other president that was inaugurated, but he wasn't inaugurated inside of the belly of the Capitol. He was, I forget who it was. It might have been Roosevelt or one other president. He was inaugurated outside of the door of the Capitol, but he wasn't in the belly. So the only one to fulfill their occult ritual was Donald Trump in the belly of the Capitol. And the impregnation of ISIS by, I believe it was one of the other gods. See, they set up everything occult rituals in the architecture of D.C. If you don't know that, D.C. has been laid out for a massive occult ritual that is ongoing. Oh, it was Reagan? Okay, so Reagan was the one that was inaugurated outside of the cap. He was in the Capitol, but he was outside of the belly. He was over in another room that was attached to the Capitol. Okay. So this is the Golden Age, which they believe is the Great Awakening, or the white hats that begin to take over. So the white hats will begin to take over, and this is exactly what we see happening. And the white hats are basically the white magicians. They're the ones that are going to usher in this global chaos and ultimately the persecution of all those who ride the beast. The ones that ride the beast are the false or the wayward religious system. And a lot of those are going to be Christians that don't understand. They have no clue what they are really believing, and they don't really know the Lord. They're just in name only, and they're going to ride the beast, right? At a certain point, the beast is the system. The beast is the infrastructure or the actual architecture of the global order, right? That they believe is ushering in their kingdom. Because, a lot of these Christians are talking about Seven Mountain Mandate. They're talking about, their manifest destiny. They're talking about kingdom now theology. They're going to possess the land, and they're Zionists. They're going to see the world order through the reestablishment of Jerusalem's capital, where the center of all worship and power, and ultimately the global governance is going to be coming from. They really believe that the power is shifting over into the Middle East, and many believe that it's going to be right out of Israel when everything is said and done and everything blows up around the world. They believe that the Messiah is going to rule from Israel. Now, I believe that there is definitely something that's going to be on that order, but it's not going to be according to the interpretation that they believe. It's literally going to be the powers of darkness that are going to be ruling and sitting in that seat, in that area, right before Jesus returns. So hopefully you guys understand that chronology there. I'm just giving it to you in a nutshell in case you didn't know. Christians were listening to the spirit of the Antichrist, and it says they're not the Holy Spirit. This was, and by the way, the Bible says there are many Antichrists. The spirit of the Antichrist has been in existence for quite some time, and it is a spirit that is against Christ, but it will manifest at a certain time in history in its fullness in one person, in an incarnation of the powers of darkness. And it will be, and many Jews believe this anyway. They believe that and I've talked to Jews about this. They believe in reincarnation. If you don't know some of the beliefs of even religious Jews that are, Orthodox, they believe that the spirit of the Messiah incarnates in a human every generation, but it increases in its power and in its abilities. As time goes on, there will be a fulfillment of the scriptures in one man. That's what they believe. I've talked to them, so I know. I've talked to a lot of different Jewish leaders in the past about this topic. But from a Jewish point of view, obviously, they wouldn't talk to me if they knew I was talking about Jesus or anything. You got to be kind of subtle when you're talking to some religious Jews. You got to know how to talk to them. So it says the biggest satanic ritual was meant to deceive the masses. This was the biggest satanic ritual meant to deceive the masses. It requires blood sacrifices, not only, and this is going back to all the old ancient occult ideologies, right? The sacrificial offerings up of children. This is what abortion is. It is a massive ritual that has been ongoing in America for many, many years. And God is probably done with us. I'm just going to tell you right now. America is going to be judged for just that in and of itself. Okay. Now, those rituals through abortion were repealed supposedly by our conservative courts that Trump had appointed. But what happened? Trump overturned it while he's in office. He's overturned those laws, and he's allowed, and in fact, abortion has prospered even more. That's why you don't hear anybody talking and protesting the abortion, because it's still legal, and it's actually more prolific now in its in its availability. In fact, Trump overruled a certain state. There was somehow influenced this one state. I think it was Florida. Was it Florida? What state was that? Where they had these laws that were going through, and Trump basically, through his influence, administration's influence over the courts, they overturned it. Okay, so DHS has sent legal requests to Google, Reddit, Meta, and Discord for the names and email addresses, telephone numbers, and identifying data of accounts that track and criticize ICE. So they're really going after people right now that are criticizing this new police force that is subject and is kind of Donald Trump's own personal militarized police force. And so they're going after people right now. And if you remember, Obama said that he was looking for a civilian police force and militarized force that would be more well-funded than the military itself. Do you remember when he said that back when he was coming into office back in the, 2008? And it looks like that's exactly what Trump is doing, if you ask me. They're building all these warehouses all around the country, and many people have said and speculated they're not just for illegals, they're probably for people that are dissenters politically. Let's see what this one is here. ICE admits that it's databasing Americans and creating a social credit scores. Quote, we have a nice little database now, and you're considered a domestic terrorist. If you remember that video where that lady was filming the ICE agents, they basically filmed her and said, now you're in our database, and you are also going to be a domestic terrorist. That's what they told her. And she started saying, what? For filming you? Yeah, just for filming. So if you're saying anything negative, you're in a database. Welcome to Trump's America. Freedom for all. And these are all articles you can go look at. Okay, Homeland Security wants social media sites to expose anti-ICE accounts. There you go. Catherine Austin Fitts says that Epstein was financing. This is Austin Fitts saying this. Quote, Epstein was financing all the different parts of the control. And she's a great researcher, by the way. She is highly intelligent, very high level involvement in government. And she has lots of contacts. She's not a stupid lady. She's very smart. You should be listening to everything that this woman says. She's very conservative. I believe she's very spiritual as well. And she says that Epstein was financing all the different parts of the control grid, software like Palantir, crypto, and programmable money. It's the whole infrastructure, and that's true. He has been. He started off day one, and he was doing it all the way back in his first presidency, even though he feigned a loss. He knew that the military was very much in control and that the Biden administration was just a part of the sham game plan. It was just WWE, pretend politics, and he knew he would come back. And he played it just fine, just right. Just like when he was fighting with Ed McMahon on the WWE, he was punching Ed McMahon, remember? And everybody was going crazy. It's the fight of the billionaires. Ah! Look, the stadium goes wild at, what do they call that one in New York? I forget what the name of that is. It's just absolutely crazy that people get so caught up into this. But it says, she said, they're going to do to what they did in Gaza to America, but this can't be an independent Mossad operation without complete integration with the New York Fed member banks and the CIA. It just can't. The infrastructure is controlled by the U.S. empire, so to speak. So, everything that's been happening with the, if you paid attention to what happened in Gaza, it was all AI warfare. And they dismantled it very quickly and very easily with AI controlled weapons. And now it looks like a hellscape. But that was on purpose. Everything was leveled on purpose. See, the whole of Gaza was basically, it was all Hamas. And so everything's going to be justified with what they do. It's all because of terrorism, right? It's going to be, you're going to be a terrorist. You're going to be classified as a terrorist, and you're going to be justified to be eliminated as a result. I hope you understand this. And they're going to do it with all these technologies. Top Goldman Sachs lawyer called Epstein Uncle Jeffrey resigns. Catherine, and there's so many these high-level executives resigning that were in the Epstein files. It's so crazy how many people are resigning, but not. Trump was named like 5,000 times in the Epstein files. He's not resigning. There's a lot of high-level people that are in the government that are connected to Trump that were named a lot of times, and they're not resigning. But these people, there's people all over the place resigning right now. Just because they were mentioned a few times, they're resigning in shame because they know they did something wrong in their connections, and they know they were a part of something very evil. Hyatt Hotel billionaire executive Tom Prickner resigns from Hyatt Hotel Corp. citing, and I think that there may be a reason why a lot of these high-level people are resigning. It's because I think they know that everything is about to hit the fan, and they're getting out of Dodge. They're bugging out. That's what I think is happening. There are so many of these high-level people leaving their post, and this is their notice. Hey, it's going down. Just resign as a result of being in this files. So because it's all going to hit the fan. It's not going to be safe. So go get to your your bunkers and where you've put all that money and where you're securely dug in deep, because it's all about to hit the fan. Trump says that prices and inflation are way down. So people believe it, though. They still believe him. Isn't that crazy how there's so many people that still believe him? That would be someone. Someone is a member. Cool. We got a new member. You can become a member, by the way, of the coffee club. So be a member, and you can also add all your name if you want to be, know who you are, but you don't have to. You can be anonymous. The stock market is way up. Yeah, the fake stock market, which will collapse in a second. Take everybody's money with it. It's just what it reminds me of is when Trump and his sons were pumping up Bitcoin when it was 100,000 a coin, and they were going on this round of, it was like a tour for Bitcoin, telling everybody it was going to go to $1 million. And so everybody was like all excited, because that's what Trump says in his book, The Art of the Deal, or The Art of the Steal, or The Art of Deception. He says what you do is you talk huge, you talk big, you talk exciting visions of things that could be, even though it's not. It's called creative hyperbole. Everybody wants to believe, and you can excite them by talking big. And when you do, they'll believe and they'll go along, right? But it's not real, right? It's a part of the art of the steal in the end. So what did he do? He pumped up Bitcoin. He said it was going to be going to the moon, and everybody bought in. And then Bitcoin went up to 120,000, 125,000. And then what happened? It crashed. And now it's down like $60,000. So everybody that bought in at 100,000, 110, 120, thinking that was going to go to $1 million because they were believing Trump. It's kind of like all those people that trusted Trump in all of his businesses. He's had like 6 or 7 businesses that went bankrupt over the last 20 years. They put a lot of money. They put a lot of time. They had contractors and subcontractors, and everybody did work for him. But he went bankrupt. When asked if he was a failed businessman because he had so many bankruptcies, he said, no, I actually made money. I made money through these bankruptcies. Oh, no, we worked out a deal with the bank. I'm very valuable, and blah, 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 talking his way back out. But in the meantime, a lot of people get hurt. It's kind of like Trump's phone. They got that Trump phone they sold for $500 a piece. It's just a phone you can get from China, like for $100. They just put some gold paint on it and put a T on it. And this phone they sold for $500 a piece. They sold 599,000 units back in August of 2025. No, it was April. I'm sorry. It was April of 2025. They keep pushing the date. Oh, it was going to be delivered late. It's going to be in September. Then it's going to be in November. Then it's going to be December. Then it's going to be January. It's February. Here we are almost in March, and they still haven't delivered not one phone. Out of 599,000 phones, 599,000 phones. And they took deposits down from everybody that bought this phone, and they haven't delivered not one. Not one has been delivered. The Trump phone. At least Obama gave away free phones. They had the Obama phone, remember? I got an Obama phone. They gave all these phones for everybody so they could track us as long as we give them our vote. We like Obama. But hey, Trump never even got a phone. Just promised you a bunch of air. Isn't that amazing? But hey, if he can sell air, it's kind of like O'Hare in In what was that? I was going to make a joke. What the heck is that movie? The Lorax. Anybody ever see that movie, The Lorax? It's a kid movie, and it's about this guy who sells air. He basically creates a bad environment, and then he goes out and he sells air. He gets the air free, but he brings it back to the bad environment, and he sells it. Really, they get rid of all the trees, and they have all these plastic trees. It's called Sneedsville. And so he's just a used car salesman selling a bunch of lemons, but telling you that it's the golden age. But hey, he fixed egg prices. I give him that. He brought a bunch of eggs in from another country that probably are, vaccinated birds and everything else, that they got us some new eggs. And by the way, our beef prices are going up through the roof. But you know what? He's importing all kinds of beef from some other weird country that we don't even know what they do to their cows. But we're getting our beef coming in. That's good, huh? Right? Hey, at least our beef prices won't be as high, but still going to be going, they're still going up. But you're not getting beef from the United States anymore because we're getting it all from other countries that who knows what they put in their beef? Who knows what they're putting in it? Who knows what they're feeding those cows? They could be feeding them a bunch of dead bodies for all we know. Thomas Massey drops a bombshell. Donald Trump told us that even though he had dinner with these people in New York City and West Palm Beach, that he would be transparent, but he's not. He's still in with the Epstein class. This is the Epstein administration. This is what Thomas Massey is saying. And you know what? A lot of people that are looking at all the documents and all the names, all the times that he was named, the thousands and thousands of times that he was named, are saying there's lots of smoking guns. Lots and lots. Trump says he's not in any way implicated and that his name is cleared. He said it again today. I don't know why he keeps saying that. I guess people don't believe him, but he has to keep saying that he's clear, free and clear. Let's move on. It's a hoax. It only looks bad he keeps saying it only looks bad for the Democrats. He keeps saying that, the Democrats. Yeah, what about the Republicans? Oh, you're saying the Republicans didn't do anything bad. It's just the Democrats. It's a Democrat hoax, don't you know? The Democrats got themselves pulled into this. Oh, really? Okay. All right. I believe you. Here's Iran's carrying out exercises in the Strait of Hormuz, one of the most important oil routes in the world. They're doing these operations, and they have drones. They have underwater drones. They've got mines that they can release. They've got hypersonic weapons all posted all throughout those mountain ranges right there in the strait. There ain't nothing going to go through. When a war goes down, that's it. Your prices of oil are going to skyrocket. Maybe we'll go into Venezuela and we'll just try to commandeer all those oil refineries or oil producing areas and just take their oil. Or maybe we'll just go ahead and take some more ships. We'll just keep taking everything that's going in the oceans that has any oil in it. And that's how we'll keep funding our war campaign. But it's going to be bad. Your prices are going to go up. As soon as this war starts, you better get your cars filled up with gas and stockpile a little bit of extra gas on the side. This is a Iranian Revolutionary Guard rear admiral who is now saying that they maintain a 24-hour intelligence dominance over the Strait of Hormuz. The oversight covers the surface, the airspace above it, and even beneath the water. And they do have subs. Yep, they have subs. They have underwater drones. They also have those quick swarming boats. They have lots of these speed boats that are all guided by remote control, and they're laden with bombs. And there's a whole bunch of them, like they call it swarm technologies, right? Where they swarm. They could send like 100 of these boats toward one of our ships, and all it's going to take is one ship or one of those boats to hit the ship. Okay, here's where we get into the intel for today on what's happening. This is IsraelRadar.com. They're saying that Israel is preparing for extreme wartime scenarios due to estimate that U.S.-Iran talks are on the brink of collapse. Now, this was before they collapsed. Now, they've completely collapsed, and we're going to go into all that in just a second. The IDF home front prepares for wide-scale missile fire by Iran and Middle East militias Walla News reports. Air Force takes steps to ensure that it can continue wartime operations even under heavy Iranian assault. Iran may fire its entire missile arsenal at Israel if Tehran feels that the regime is about to fall, says defense tech expert Embarek Space. In this kind of extreme scenario, the U.S. could try to, let's see if we have this. Okay, so we can't see that. Okay, so it says, all right. And then the Israeli War Room is saying that the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, has stated that it's going to be hard to make a deal with Iran. That was earlier, a little bit earlier today. Then the Iranians came out and they said that their deputy foreign minister, Ravanchi, tells the BBC that Iran refuses all discussions regarding its ballistic missile program. And then the Iranian news agencies came out again and said the countdown now begins. This was on X. The countdown begins. The countdown to war begins. Russia is intensely supplying weapons to Iran. And this is some of the visuals of these incoming transport planes into Tehran from Russia. Over the past 3 days, 3 flights of Russian 76 TDs from wherever that is, Minarani Vadi, to the Iranian city of Karaj have been recorded. And let's just see what these what they look like. I want to see what these are. Really quick. Okay, so yeah, they look like big. They're big transport planes. So let me give you a visual of what these look like, so you can see here. This is what they look like. This is what this is. 76, a 2-76. So these are big transport planes of the Russian Federation. So it says previously, Mi-28NE helicopters were delivered to Iran in a similar manner, so it is assumed that these flights are transporting new batches of strike machines produced for the Iranian army. This is coming from Russia. New Mexico lawmakers have passed legislation to begin the first comprehensive investigation into Zorro Ranch. Now, they're saying that this was a ranch at that Epstein owned. Now, somebody just bought it, but this ranch, supposedly, people were saying had dead bodies on it, that women that would go contrary to what they would want were threatened with being fertilizer on the ranch. Unfortunately. 18 additional American F-35 stealth fighter jets are headed to the Middle East, reports Amik Stein. Who is that? Let's see if we know who that is. Let's see what that guy's name is here. Oh, he's on X, I'm sure, right? How do you spell that? Amika A-M-I-C-H-A, Micah. Let's see if we can find that guy. What's it with an I? Okay, there we go. There we go. All right, so this is where this one is here. Has 100,000 followers. He's a diplomatic correspondent at I-24 News, so he's an I-24 News guy, an Israeli. Jennifer Griffin, who is also a chief national security correspondent, said that the USS Gerald Ford aircraft strike carrier group will take about 2 weeks to arrive in the Eastern Mediterranean from the time that it left the Caribbean. Now, this could also be a fake, like a head fake, to make it seem as if there is going to still be time, and maybe there is still a little bit more time, but time is definitely ticking away. We could see something happening even before the carrier gets there. I don't know how long it's going to take, if it's going to take 2 weeks or what. It says the longest a U.S. aircraft carrier has ever been at sea was the USS Nimitz, 321 days during COVID, or 10.5 months. Let's see here. Hours before the Geneva talks between the U.S. and Iran, Saudi Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs receives the head of the National Security and Foreign Policy Committee of the Iranian Council. Huh. Okay, here it is. Nope, this is not it. Senator Lindsey Graham, 10 hours ago, said, after the calls of help is on the way, we cannot disappoint the protesters. I don't know. It looks like they've already been disappointed and or killed, because they were thinking that America was going to be right there, just like they were when Venezuela took place. He says, we're in the area now where we have got to make some strategic decisions about diplomacy and military action in the coming weeks, not months. That's according to Lindsey Graham. Lindsey Graham says that the Iranian regime is on the brink of collapse and warns that the U.S. must back protesters or face trust loss, worse than Afghanistan, quote unquote. Withdrawal failures, and predicts the Afghan withdrawal failures, and it says that, and predicts that the possible collapse of the Abraham Accords if we don't follow through. So Lindsey Graham is basically saying, hey, Trump, if you don't do this, you're going to have something really bad happen to your PR globally. Yep. Obama said, the sentence that Barack Obama said about aliens shook the world, but the question today is not necessarily are there life forms outside Earth, but rather why in a single day the former president felt the need to issue a clarification, quote, despite the statistical likelihood of life in the universe, during my time in office, I saw no evidence whatsoever of contact with extraterrestrials. So this is what Obama said recently. Now, I have to wonder why he said that, because you know why? Trump has been floating through his daughter and through other channels that he's about to release information and do a speech about disclosure of alien life here real soon. This is like what I think is a distraction. It's something that could be some of the biggest news if it seems legit or if it's actually connected to anything that might be real. I think it's demonic, whatever it is. I don't think it's actual alien entities of, from different solar systems. I think what it is, it's angelic manifestations that will seem. I mean, you can go in the Bible and look. Ezekiel's wheel. If you go back and look at what was Ezekiel's wheel, it was a craft. When Elijah was taken up in a chariot of fire, what was that? Jesus was ascended into the heavens, right? There was what they believe is these technologies that angelic entities have or manifest in some way in our natural world that may seem otherworldly, but they're just interdimensional. They're entities that have, I don't think they're alien in the sense that they are not in any way connected to the Creator, because the Creator obviously made everything, right? He made the whole universe. And when you think about what is the universe, it's something huge. So anyways, it goes on to say, in today's era, millions of people refuse to believe a single word that comes out of the White House, even when the person saying it is a former president. According to the latest polls, more than half of Americans are convinced that the government knows far more about UFOs than it is telling. When so many people, more than 150 million in the United States, are certain that flying saucers and aliens are being hidden from them, the problem is primarily psychological. So Obama tried to calm things down with logic and statistics, but he forgot one thing. Conspiracies don't grow in a vacuum, that is, empty space. They grow in the place where trust has died. Very true. And I do believe that Iran's missile program is definitely something that we're not really being told the full, really fully what they are capable of, that their potential effects are going to have on our bases all over the Middle East, not to mention Israel, and potentially even here in the U.S. They tested an I believe it was an intercontinental ballistic missile that went 10,000. It could go 10,000 miles, which could reach the United States. Not only that, but I'm sure that they have asymmetrical warfare that they're going to unleash on the U.S. because they look at us as the primary enemy, not just Israel. And they will not leave us untouched if they are going to be looking at that potential clash. I heard an interesting comment from Canadian Prepper. He was talking about how he used to be a conservationist. He did stuff with, animals and stuff and wild animals. And he said that even a squirrel can defend against a bear. He said if its life is threatened, any animal will try to defend itself, especially if it has children or kids. He said, he said that there was a story that was legitimate. It was backed up by, a lot of testimony that he had heard, where this squirrel literally defended against a bear, and the bear just decided it didn't want to have anything to do with this rabid squirrel. I don't know if it was rabid, but it was, a squirrel that was definitely fighting for its life. And especially if it's in the face of a bear, if you got some kind of, I don't know if you've ever picked up a cat that went crazy. Have you ever picked up a kitten? I mean, one time I picked up a little kitten, a little baby kitten, but this thing was wild as wild could be. This thing was like, I mean, do you ever see those old cartoons with, what was his name? The Tasmanian Devil? The Tasmanian Devil was just all crazy. That's what that cat reminded me of. It was like Tasmanian devil. I couldn't believe how vicious this little kitten was. And if you have something like that take place where you've got a vicious, even though it's, 50 times smaller than you, 100 times, 1,000, this animal can still, especially in the wild, if it causes some kind of injury, you're already on a precarious moment in our own history with economy. Everything is very unstable here in the U.S., whether it's socially, economically. I would say not militarily. I guess we still got lots of military equipment and know-how, but our military, how well is it being, manned? I don't know if it's not up to specs the way it used to be, but still, we're pretty formidable. But still, even if we get a small cut, it could become infected. And that's why animals in the wilderness, they don't really want to go out of their way to get hurt. Even if it's from a small enemy or a small, what they might perceive as an irritation, or maybe a smaller prey that they think they can dominate. If they have the ability, just like a skunk. You think a skunk is easy to deal with. And I'm going to tell you, one time I had chickens, and I still do, but I had a chicken coop that a skunk got into, and it kept going in there and stealing all the eggs. But it's a little skunk. It's like a little cat. I thought, okay, I'm just going to shoot it when I see it in there. And I had a .22, and I saw it in there, and you don't want to do that. All right, you don't want to do that. Because even if you don't touch the animal and you still kill it, it stunk up the house, the whole neighborhood, for like a week. The whole neighborhood smelled like a skunk for a week because I shot a skunk in my chicken coop. So, like I said, even if it's not going to harm you, it could still harm you in some other way. And if you're in a situation where things are not stable, it could push you over the edge, even something small like a little Iran. Now, we would say the same thing for Venezuela, but Venezuela is not like Iran. Venezuela is nowhere near Iran. All right. They're allied with very powerful global powers, China and Russia, and they look at us as an enemy. China and Russia look at us as an enemy. And they're going to do everything they can to prop up and to support what is a very vital part of their economy, Iran, and their oil, and a strategic influence that they may have over the Middle East. They're going to do everything in their power to keep that country from falling to the Americans. So we're in for some pretty major battles coming, guys. I don't know how soon it's going to be. They're saying 2 weeks before the Abraham Lincoln gets there, but I think they were preparing to do a war earlier and sooner. But I think the reason why they're bringing in this new strike carrier group, which is a huge amount of ships and assets and planes and fighter jets and whatever else, firepower. They're doing this as a backup because I think they didn't realize how big of a situation this was turning out to be. Because I think we were ready to attack them a while back, but we didn't. We pulled back at the last minute. There was a lot of testimony about this. Last time we told you we're on the brink. Remember, we were telling you we're on the brink, we're on the brink. Everybody was talking about it. They pulled back at the last minute, but they were about to do it, from what I understand. But they didn't. And now here we are again. Are they going to pull the trigger before Abraham Lincoln gets there, or are they going to literally wait 2 weeks? Or it's probably less than 2 weeks now because it's been on its way for a while now. It's probably like a little over a week. We got a little over a week, if that's what they're going to do, is wait for Abraham Lincoln to get there. But they might be just doing that to keep them a little bit off guard. Why would you wait? It's kind of like... It reminds me of like in the old days when they used to have, like during the Revolutionary War, you'd have the British come up with all their troops and all the Americans would come up and they'd stand in a big old line. They'd just say, wait, everybody just stand. And then they'd look at each other and they point their guns at each other, and they're just standing there getting ready to be shot. You know, they're being focused in on their, and then they all fire, and then everybody falls, and then they get ready to fire back, and then they aim their guns and they get ready to fire, and it's like they're just standing there waiting to be shot. It's like, why not take cover? Why not run? Why stand there and get shot? You know, like be a guerrilla. You know, guerrilla warfare. You know, don't just stand there like a target. Well, you gotta load your gun back up. You know, you got to put the powder in. You got to put the bullet in. It takes a minute. So everybody's not trying to get their guns ready to go so they can shoot again. But what are they doing? Are they going to just stand? They're going to just all prepare and then stand and look at each other and get ready. All right, ready, aim, fire. You know, I don't see that really happening. I think it's supposed to be stealthy. It's supposed to be keeping a country off balance. You're not supposed to let them know when you're about to attack them. Do you tell people before you hit them you're going to hit them? You know, most of the time when you see these fights take place, you know, what they call cold cock. Have you ever heard that term, cold cock, or bum rush? Right? They bum rush you, or they cold cock you, or you don't see it coming. They're just going to hit, especially if you're a bigger country. You know, you're a country that's huge and, you know, behemoth, and you know you have all kinds of fire. They're going to try to get you off balance before you come ready to rumble. You know, you come ready to rumble, and if they can attack you before you get there to kind of throw you off balance, they got a better chance. I think Iran's already figured that one out. I think they're going to probably try to preemptively do something. I think Iran is going to preemptively try to thwart this. And I think maybe that's why we're bringing this new battle group in, is to say, hey, you want to try? It sounds to me like Iran is getting very bold, and they're starting to talk back. They're not just sitting there saying, hey, we want to negotiate. They're saying, no, we're not going to negotiate with you anymore now. We already told you what we want, and we're not going to budge. And if you want war, then war you're going to get. That's what they're saying to the U.S. now. And the U.S. is like, oh, okay. Well, okay. You know, it reminds me of that movie, Tombstone, where he's like, I'll be your huckleberry. He's like, okay, Lunger, okay. And he didn't want to fight with him, you know. I kind of feel like America's like the dude that doesn't want to, he wants to fight, he wants to show off, he wants to be big and bad. But Doc Holliday is like, I'll be your huckleberry. You know, it's like, Iran is like, hey, you know what? I'll fight you, even though, you know, I don't have a chance, you know. Because the other dude was really good with gunslinging. You know, he knew how to do his guns. You remember? He's just and Doc Holliday was sick. You know, he was sick. He had some kind of lung disease. That's why they called him Lunger. And when he said he would be your huckleberry, he was like saying, hey, you know what? I'm going to kill you, and I don't have nothing to worry about because I don't have nothing else to lose. I'm about to die anyway, but I'm ready to kill you. And he was pretty confident about it too. So I kind of wonder if Iran is at that point where they really don't, they've pretty much dedicated themselves to, you know, to being martyrs. They've already committed their way all the way to the end. And they're going to go out with, this is why the Iranians just said, or the Israelis had said on their news, that the Iranians are going to launch everything. If they think they're about to lose, they're going to unleash every missile they've got. And they've got a lot of missiles. They have a lot of missiles. I don't know if you've ever saw that video that we posted about their missile cities. It's not just one city, it's missile cities that are deep inside of the mountain range. They dig in sideways. You know, there's no way you can send a bunker buster into a mountain that they've burrowed into, you know, a mile. There's no way. It's going to take an act of God, you know, flipping the planet, you know, a big pole shift in order to stop something like that from happening. And by the way, people do think we're on the brink of a pole shift. How many of you guys think we're on the brink of a pole shift, by the way? All right, I'm looking at some of your guys' comments. A-Dub, what's going on? CSC drivers. Sherry, what's happening? Buzz Lightyear in the house. Roxy Rain. Jack Dupe. The Earth is flat. Somebody was talking about the Earth being flat, and they were going to go to the Antarctica, and they were talking to this very prominent flat earther, and they said, "Hey, I'll pay for your trip up here because you know what? The sun never sets up here at a certain time of the year," and that would basically discount the whole idea of flat Earth. So if you got 24-hour sun, that seems to, contradict the whole idea of flat Earth. Hello. It can't flip. We're on is it like a frisbee, Scott? Is it like flying through the universe like a frisbee? I do think that we're living in the Truman Show, though. I do think we're out you see on my YouTube channel, I've got the Truman Show up there. It's because I think that a lot of this is simulated. How's it going, Terry? Terry Johnson, what's up? Make sure you hit that thumbs up button, share it. What they call hype it. I don't know if you can hype a video like this. Can you see hyping? I don't know why they call it hyping it. But yeah, hype the video if you want. Make sure that you share it. What do you guys think? In the comments, what do you think? Do you think let's just do a poll. Impromptu poll here. How many of you think that we're going to war within the week, within 7 days? That we will see hostilities erupt and that we will be in a hot war within the next week, type 1. If you think it's going to be within 2 weeks, type 2. If you don't think it's going to be at all, and you think that we're on the brink of a golden age and that Trump is going to somehow work a deal out and he's going to somehow bring peace to the whole world, and eternal peace, for that matter. You think he's about to bring eternal peace, because he did say he was going to bring eternal peace on a number of occasions. Eternal peace, really, type 3. If you think he's going to bring eternal peace, and that he's going to be, he's like a global Messiah figure that everybody's going to put their trust in. Which one? Some are saying within 2 weeks. And it looks like the 2 weeks are more, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's pretty even. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's even. Even Steven. So you got 7 people that believe this week, within a week, and 7 people that believe in 2 weeks. Gnarly News says he's the golden Dawn. Isn't that interesting? His name is Dawn. Golden Dawn. Where does that come from? Anybody know? Mr. Crowley. Bow, bow, bow. What they done in the head. Ozzy Osbourne, Mr. Crowley. And there's an interesting connection of Donald Trump to Aleister Crowley, though. You guys all know that, the Moon Child, right? Have you ever looked into that topic? That's really weird. We've talked a lot about that. And by the way, if you do join us on our prophetic deep dive, which happens every Saturday at 6 p.m. We're doing it at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Get connected to our Patreon account. You can follow us free on Patreon, and you'll know how to get there. We're going to open it up again this week for anybody that wants to be there. We'll post the links in our Patreon account so that you can get there and hang out with us on a Zoom call. Oh, we got more information too. We got more news. But I want you guys to be a part of that conversation. We had a great group of people there this week. A huge group of people showed up. How many of you guys were there? It was great. We had a nice I'm going to be posting that for everybody to see it. If you didn't see it, I will be posting it on YouTube here real soon. Whoops, I just spilled my coffee. Why did I do that? Anyways, and we got a little bit more news here. I just spilled my coffee. How in the world did I do that? Oh, my goodness. Sorry about that. Okay, so we've got some more news here. Let me see. Yeah, the prophetic deep dive. You guys want to get into the depths of a conversation on prophecy? Oh, I'm going to tell you what. This conversation we had last week was amazing. The Spirit of God is definitely in the midst of his people, and if you're a part of the body of Christ, you're going to want to be in there. Even if you're not, hey, you might be convicted. You might have the fear of the Lord come upon you. You might want to get saved. That's just fine with us. We'll pray a prayer, you'll get right, and then everything will be good. Your whole life will be awesome, and you'll end up being let in. In the pearly gates, they'll open up. Right? All right, here we go. Let's see what we got. All right, honey, what else do you got? Oh, let's see. Okay, so maga in Latin means magical witch. In Italian, it means a sorcerer or a witch, a sorceress or a witch. So in Latin, it means magic or a magical witch. In Latin, it means a sorceress or a witch. In Spanish, it means magician or wizard or an illusionist. And in Polish, it means a magician. You can go on Google and type it in. There's a Google Translate where you can verify this. And in Sanskrit is another language. I'm not sure what it is. Sanskrit. It's a magician or a priest of the sun. So maga means a priest of the sun or a magician. Now in the English, the word maga or mag-e is an archaic word for magician or sorcerer. So that would be M-A-G-E. It's not M-A-G-A. But all the other translations are M-A-G-A for all the other languages. But for the Old English, I guess it's an older English word, M-A-G-E or mage, like magi, right? Magi, that's probably where you get the word magi from. It was the wise men, or they called them astrologers, or maybe they were following astronomy. They might have called them astrologers. I don't know, but that's where you get the magi from. But the English word is, and it's an archaic word for magician or sorcerer, coming from the Latin word magus or maga. And the Greek word magos. Interesting, isn't it? Yeah. Let's see. Let's kind of look at this. I don't know. Does this have music in it? I'm not be able to play it if it's got music. I don't want to play it if it's got music. Let's try it.
Dark maga. As you can see,
Yeah. Okay. So it's basically he's talking about dark maga, and he's talking about how this was dark maga. Let me pull this up for you so you can see it. I can't play it though because the music will give a copyright on it. You remember when when Elon was talking about dark MAGA, and then they pretended like they were in some kind of fight, and they have it falling out after they did the Doge little trick in the background, implementing all of the technology of the beast in the whole of the government, all of the government institutions were totally, completely. Oh, but we were supposed to get a $5,000 stimulus check because of all the new money they were going to find that was, misappropriated and yeah, but that never happened, did it? No. But hey, he did promise another $2,000 stimulus check not too long ago, but that never happened either, did it? That was from tariffs. Tariffs were going to make us all kinds of money, but that never did happen. And all you guys out there that bought a Trump phone, did you get your phone yet? No? Oh, he's claiming bankruptcy. You're not going to end up getting it. Too bad. But you know what? You can invest in his meme coin. Maybe you'll make some money there. Oh, wait a minute. It dropped from $75 down to what? Now is it $2 or less than $2 now a coin? Yeah, you're probably not going to make it. But you know what? Buy the dip. Maybe you can buy the dip on the sinking ship. Maybe if you catch that knife as it falls, you might be able to make some money on the back end. You never know. Maybe Trump's going to come through. Maybe he will still. Maybe it will be a golden. Maybe this is 4D chess. Maybe this is a 4D chess move. You just don't know it. Anyways. Yeah. Let's see what else we got here. Yeah, so the apotheosis is inside of the Capitol building, and that's the divinity of our politicians or our leaders of the nation. It has nothing to do with Jesus. If you look at the fresco on the top of the Capitol with all the angels or whatever they are, those are divinely exalted men that have now become gods. George Washington being one of the fathers of those gods, right? So that's what the apotheosis is. Has nothing to do with Christianity, has nothing to do with God. It has everything to do with demonic deception. You think she made the shaman part up herself? Really? Why do you think that? I'm kind of curious. Why do you think that? Okay, you want to see the interview of Marina Abramovich? Okay, so this is Marina Abramovich talking about Trump being a high-level magician of the highest order. He is a magician of the highest order. And if you know the status of Marina Abramovich, you should take her words serious. She is, as I said, a very high-level occultist. She is an occultist for kings and queens and royalty, and she's kind of like, how many of you guys have ever heard of Rasputin? Anybody know who Rasputin was? He was a spiritual advisor to the Russian Tsar and the Tsar's wife. I think it was right before the Bolshevik Revolution, if I'm not mistaken. Rasputin. But anyways, here we go. Let's listen to see what Marina Abramovich had to say about this.
Look at these two guys, Trump with Kim Jong. They're two lunatics, completely horrible human beings, corrupted, and we don't like them because there are lots of good reasons not to like them. I just talked to I was in Rome 2 days ago, and I met one shaman woman from the north of Norway. So this woman told me 3 days ago that the Trump is the best thing happened ever to us. Because she believed, not her.
Now, see, her story changed, didn't it, honey? Is this why you said that? Because she said in another interview, because I told you there was 2 different interviews of her talking about this. She said that there was a group of shamans. Now she says it's just one woman. I wonder if she's talking about herself. So maybe it is. Maybe she's not wanting to let it on because, you know, when she told the world about this, everybody hated Trump. Remember, this was during his first administration when everybody was hating Trump. Remember that? How many of you guys remember that? This is when I think she is making it up because her story doesn't actually line up. But she is a high level, very high level occult practitioner. Right here, this woman. If you don't know who she is. But anyway, let's continue.
Happen ever to us. Because she believed, not her, but the entire population of this Nordic magician, that he is the magician of the highest order, that he is there in his irrational mind to create confusion in order that the human being can find new order. And you know, it's not so stupid thinking about this in that way. It's completely turning things upside down. Because
okay, so she did say that there was a communal order. She did say a communal order. So she did talk about, see, if you listen to what she says right there, she talks about the woman, but she also talks about an order. Let me see.
that he is there, the magician, that he, not her, but the entire population of this Nordic magician.
So the entire population of this Nordic magician, I think she meant the Nordic community of magicians. So it wasn't just her. So there was a group. There was a group. Before, in her other testimony, she said it was a group of shamans. This is what she said. So she is definitely talking about a group here. But let's continue.
That he is the magician of the highest order. That he is there in his irrational mind to create confusion in order that the human being can find new order. And you know, it's not so stupid thinking about this in that way. It's completely turning things upside down. Because since Trump is around, things are changing. Because we are waking up.
Now you knew doing away.
All right, so I had to turn down that sound there. But look, there's this is right directly from the Church of Satan's website. If you go to Church of Satan, or if you just type in Church of Satan, the fifth degree is a maga or magus if you're a woman. So first degree, no degree. Active member is a Satanist. It's a first degree. A witch or a warlock is a second degree. Priestess or a priest is a third degree. Magistra or magister, fourth degree. And a maga or a magus, fifth degree. And that's right off churchofsatan.com. Yeah, but you gotta search it because it's not right accessible on the page itself. I tried to find it one time. Let me just see. Let's see if I can find it here. Yeah, it's here. So if you look over here, if you look right here, you'll see it. What did I do? Number 2. Okay, here we go. What happened here? The churchofsatan.com. And I guess this is kind of their history, theory and practice. And then here's it. churchofsatan.com. That's what it is. So, yeah. Yeah, she is Ukrainian, from what I understand. Yes, she's Ukrainian. Fire by Night says, "Yeah, can you guess her true genealogy? Easy, really? She's not. She is Ukrainian, right? Or is she of the tribe? There are a lot of Ukrainian tribe members. She is. That's what I thought. She's a Canaanite. Yep, that's interesting. That is interesting. But I knew she was from Ukraine. She does look a little on that side. There are 2 different videos of her saying it, yes, from 2 different conversations. One of them was an interview, and this one was in the back of a car. All right, let's see what else we got. Anything else? Oh, what about this one? Yeah. Check out this one. What do you think about this? So Lego put out this Lego series on the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. You've got a white horse, a black horse, a red horse, and a pale horse, which the Bible calls the green or the pale. And this is for purposes of celebrating the the Chinese New Year, the year of the horse. But you have to wonder, why 4 horses? Why 4 horses, really? So this is the new Lego Chinese set. And it says it eerily resembles the 4 horses of the apocalypse. The Chinese zodiac has 5 elements for each sign, and they alternate each decade. So with each element. So there is no real reason why they would need 4 horses instead of 5. These actually match the horses of Revelation, with the beige being the pale yellow horse and the brown being the red horse. Pretty creepy. Yeah, I would say so. That's pretty creepy. And let's see what this is here. This is the New Year of the Chinese New Year celebration of the horse. And I guess this is happening right now. Let's put that up there. Looks like the red horse of the apocalypse to me. Now, the red horse is the horse of war, right? Many people believe that we saw the white horse ride with COVID, because the white horse was the horse that would go and conquer the whole world, had a corona, had a crown, and also the rider, the only rider of the horses, was one that had a bow and an arrow, right? The arrow or the bow was is the original Greek is toxon, and it's actually a prick, or like a needle, or as they say, an arrow, toxic arrows. And this rider was to conquer the whole world and it was crowned, right? So they said that was the initial phase of the beginning of the riding of the 4 horses, was during COVID. And then we have the red horse of war. And after the wars begin, it affects the economies, which ultimately brings about famine. Famine also being the black horse, right? The black horse of famine. And then after famine comes, then you have the pale horse that has hell following, and it is the horse of death, right? It is the horse of death on a wide, massive, global scale. The Bible calls that the when the destruction of the earth in thirds. Remember how it is destroyed in big swaths of humanity? You're talking billions of people being, unalived in a very short period of time, unable to be fathomed how much death that will encompass, and that is the pale horse. And yeah, I think that's about it. Let's see what else we got here. Do we got something else? What is this? Remember when Marina Abramovich said Trump is the magician who will take up the world? Okay, now Trump is proclaiming his presidency will initiate America's golden age. The new age world order, the age of Aquarius, is literally being laid out before our very eyes. Exactly what the occultists have said would happen in the year 2025 and onward. That's true. A lot of the occultists have believed for many, many years, going all the way back to the Golden Dawn, Blavatsky and even Aleister Crowley, they believed in the year 2025. I think the Alice Bailey was the one that talked about this. Alice Bailey was, I believe she was a she was a student of Blavatsky. She said that 2025 would be the year where the leader, the teacher, would come and this global order would begin. 2025. It also goes back to some of the Zoroastrian, some of the other ancient. Well, even they say the Assyrian prophecies. Some of the Essenes, and that was the Qumran community that was hiding the scrolls, the Dead Sea Scrolls. A lot of that, they say, had prophecies that they believed would be around the year 2025 when all this would culminate, the latter day. This is in their prophecies, right? This is what people have said are in the prophecies, 2025. So 2025 is very interesting. Let me show you a couple things here really quick. So this is the tarot card. One of the tarot cards is called the Magician, also Magas, or the Juggler. And it's the first trump or major. Now, this is according to the actual tarot cards. This is not about Trump, but they use the word Trump, right? It's a trump card, and it's a major arcana card in most traditional tarot decks. It is used in game playing and divination. In the English-speaking world, the divination meaning is much better known. Okay. So then, if we look over here, that's the tarot card for the Magician right there. So is that card the Judgment card? That does look like Trump, but is that just a card deck? Because I know that a lot of these tarot cards are different. Let me see. I know there's a tarot deck. Oh no, it's not the tarot deck. It's the now that this is right here, but I'm thinking of the Illuminati game. Have you ever heard of that? The Illuminati game? They have cards in that game, and that game was made in the 80s. And if you don't know what the Illuminati is, you need to go do some research. I'm not going to go into all the details of what that is, but look at some of the cards in the Illuminati game, and these cards were made, like I said, back in the 80s, or was it the late 70s? I know it was way back, but it's all about the powerful influencers that control the planet, and they say that this game has connections to real information, right? It's actually a game that reveals some of the intel, if you will, of the real global movers and shakers, the ones that are really behind the scenes. And it's made similar to kind of like the role-playing games of D&D, or maybe Pokemon, or Magic the Gathering, if you're not familiar with some of those games. But check this out. What? I got the wrong one here. So here's some of the cards, just so you can kind of get an idea of what some of these cards look like. Tell me that's not weird. How did they know all this? Like how did they know this, right? Here, I'm going to show you exactly when this card game was made. Let me just pull it up here. So I did a Google search. The original Illuminati card game was released by Steve Jackson Games in 1982. The well-known collectible card game version, Illuminati New World Order, which gained notoriety for its prophetic themes, was released in 1994. Okay. So there was a New World Order release, which was, by the way, before 9/11. And there was also the original game, which was Steve Jackson's game in 1990 or 1982. So when you look at some of these cards, this one here is the Steve Jackson game card. So this would have been 82. Does that not look like the Twin Towers? And look at the Pentagon. You can buy these cards, by the way, like on eBay and stuff. Look at this card. This one is called Enough is Enough, and tell me that don't look like Trump. This is called the Assassin's 50 card common set, Enough is Enough Trump. Now, it says at any time and at any place, our snipers can drop you. Have a nice day. Boy, that sounds familiar. Have a nice day, or thank you for your attention to this matter. That's what I always think of whenever he says it. Have a nice day. Play this card on your own turn before drawing any plots. You may remove all zap, paralysis, or attribute freeze cards that are affecting your power structure. However, preoccupied with your house cleaning, you may draw no plots this turn. Now, I don't know, because I don't play role-playing games, so I have no idea what in the world they're even talking about. But this is Steve Jackson's original game card deck. And you know, you'll see all the different cards here. Like there's let's see if I can find a couple more close-ups on some of these cards. So this was the 95-94 Illuminati New World Order starter game set. This one came after the original. But these cards are worth a lot now because they're kind of rare, and I mean, look at that, the Pentagon one. That one's absolutely crazy. Is that not crazy? I mean, like that Pentagon, and then you got the one that's the Twin Towers. How in the world? That looked just like what happened, years later. Look at this one. This card is called Combined Disasters. It says you may. Yeah, I can't read it. It's very hard to read. Let's look at this one. Okay, here it is. Combined disasters. You may combine two disasters on the same place as long as both are eligible to be used on it. Play both of the disaster cards as well. Pick one disaster to be the main one and follow all the instructions on its card and the power of the other disaster, but none of the other effects. Okay. So this one shows Big Ben falling, and it looks like a bunch of zombies. And this one is population reduction, goal population reduction. Too many people making too many problems and not enough love to go around. It says destruction of up to 3 huge places, courts as 2 groups. Okay, so whatever. So that's just basically kind of the gist of what this is, Look at this one, Centers for Disease Control. Centers for Disease Control in the middle. One's got a quarantine. This is a quarantine card. It looks like it's got a mask. It's got cleaning supplies and face masks. Look at this, epidemic. It's called epidemic. Right here on the right. I don't know if you can see that. And then this one up here is called Rewriting History and Terrorist Nuke. That looks like the Twin Towers. This one is called Charismatic Leader. This one says, this card predicted 9/11, Donald Trump, COVID, and the Capitol riot. This is according to the Independent. The Independent UK news outlet. It says this card may be played at any time and counts as the action for the group it affects. The increased power takes effect immediately. The power for one fanatical group is increased to 6 to 6. Link this card to your chosen fanatic group. No player may have more than one charismatic leader in play. All right. Charismatic. Only one. One is good enough. Magic devices stop. Okay, this one is coming from. Okay, this is something different. Is this it? Is this a part of the game? I don't know if this is an actual card. Maybe it is. Magic devices stop working. Nobody knows why. No magic resources have any effect while this New World Order, this NWO is in play. All magic groups have their power reduced by 1. That could be happening right now. All of these powerful, influential elites are now powerless. Magic resources and groups still count normally for all goals. Since the Illuminati use magic to some extent, their powers are also reduced. All Illuminati lose the automatic takeover phase of their turn. This card replaces any red New World Order card in play. So, when it says that they give their power to the beast, they give their crown, it's almost like there's a yielding in the latter day to a particular person that begins to bring about this global order, right? And I think it's going to be on the heels of a major global crisis when this begins. This power structure that's going to be, and I think, right, because they're talking about this Board of Peace. You know, Trump is the chairman of the Board of Peace. There's seven head board members, and then there's 10 mid-range board members, and then there's a third tier, which is the administrative board members. But you've got 7 heads and 10 horns, and Trump is the leader. And they're saying that this is going to take over the administration of the global peace initiative that the UN is supposed to do, right? The UN is supposed to be the one that arbitrates peace, right, after World War II. But it's now going bankrupt. It's now losing its influence and power. And it's shifting to this new Board of Peace, which doesn't even mention Gaza in its charter at all, the Gaza people or the Palestinians at all. This is all about a new global center of power, which I told you was shifting into the region, right? And so what's going to come, it's going to be a big shaking. They're preparing for the big shaking so that everything will be consolidated. But what happens before that takes place? Well, World War I, you had, and remember, Albert Pike in the late 1800s described 3 world wars. And he was a high-level Mason, 33-degree Scottish Rite Mason. And he predicted exactly what would happen in both world wars, World War I and World War II, way before they happened. He predicted the establishment of Israel as a result of the Second World War. And he predicted all the different powers that would be involved, the Germans and everything. And then he also predicted the Third World War. Now, what happened out of the First World War was the League of Nations came into being. And as we went into the Second World War, it transitioned into the United Nations. And now, as we transition into the Third World War, we're going to have the Board of Peace. And it's going to be a lot more autocratic and or like a monarch of the globe. This is exactly what we've been telling everybody for the last 5 years. People thought we were crazy, but now you're seeing it. How many of you guys out there see what I'm talking about? How many of you guys out there understand and see what we're talking about? Can anybody out there see it? Just curious. No, I haven't talked about that. Carney had a meeting with Trump. Franco, really? What happened? What all happened? Red tie shuffles toward screen. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yes, they were. I think you're right on that, CSE drivers too. Okay, so what is this one? Well, we saw that one already. So Carney and Trump meeting, huh? Let me see what there happened there. So this was 11 hours ago. Carney eyes up closer ties with one of the world's biggest trading blocs to avoid Trump. That would probably be China. To break its codependence with the U.S., China mulls going its own way. as Trump threatens Canada, huh? Really? Mark Carney leads to push to form major trade bloc as Trump threatens Canada with tariffs. Canada is spearheading discussions to bring in European Union. Now, I'm going to just tell you what. Now, I know this may sound a little bit out there, but if Trump is truly who I think he may be, and as many Jewish rabbis who are Kabbalists, and if you don't know what a Kabbalist is, Kabbalists are, I don't know, it's kind of like the magical part of an esoteric Judaism. It's a study of the magic of the tree of life and all the implied or embedded messages that they believe are God's voice, and can be ferreted out through some scripture, but a lot of it is Talmudic mysticism, I guess. Anyway, so these are Talmudic and also Kabbalists that talk about this, but a lot of even some of the Orthodox Jews will talk about this on. You can find it on YouTube. You can go on there and just look and see what I'm telling you is true. They have said that Trump is. They believe that he is a fulfillment of some of these ancient embedded prophecies that are coded in the Torah, in particular Esau and Jacob, right? Esau being the nations, representing nations, and Jacob obviously being Israel. And that Israel would have this long drawn out fear of the nations because of its power and its great influence, because obviously Esau became a great and mighty nation. And eventually in the latter day, in the end times, they believe that Esau and Jacob will make up. They will come back and embrace. But it will be a leader that delivers that message of peace, very similar to Osiris, as an order of Osiris, being that he was Persian and he was not someone that knew the name of the Lord, did not know God, the God of Israel, but he still delivered Israel, facilitated the rebuilding of their temple, and ultimately reestablished them as a nation out of exile, right? So he was to them a Messiah. And they look at Trump as also a Messiah, a nation, or a Gentile Messiah. They considered him to be. He obviously recognized Jerusalem, which was a very important part of that establishment in the world's view of Israel owning Jerusalem and the expansion of their territory, or the greater Israel territorial claim that they said Trump, as the most powerful nation in the world, gave them a go-ahead on, and has been backing their wars and their expansionistic design and plan, Gaza being one of them, and Syria and the Golan Heights, Lebanon. All of these territories are being occupied and or expanded to becoming what they believe to be their divine right? That's called the Greater Israel. And so Trump has given them this go-ahead. Now, what they say is that Trump, it will be like a Moses, in the sense that Moses came from within the Egyptian empire, rose up from within, and ultimately became a Messiah that liberated the Jewish people. But he also destroyed the nation from which he arose. And so they believe that Trump is going to somehow, and this is what a lot of them believe, this is what Jews believe in their ultimate desire for Messiah to come and the reestablishment of their temple, is that they will be the global center of power and of worship religiously also for all the nations. and also a global center of political power from the Messiah's rule. Because the Messiah is not a religious ruler per se. In their mind, he's a political man that rules. And they don't believe the Messiah is going to be God. They believe that he's God's anointed, but they don't believe that he, as the Christians would believe Jesus to be, God Most High incarnate in flesh and blood to redeem humanity. They do not believe that their Messiah is going to be in that order. He will be a political man. He will be a God anointed man in the order of David, right? Now, the Christians obviously believe in a different way about Messiah. So the establishment of Israel as a dominant power. Now, if you've been listening to the news lately, you notice that Netanyahu was reaching out to Elon Musk to make Israel the hub of this AI technology. Not only that, but they're already the hub of cybersecurity technologies and the intelligence software that goes along all with that. They also are on the cutting edge of all new technologies and weapons. And I'm sure they're very nuclear ladened as well. They have enough nukes to probably do lots of damage to other countries. And they just need some room is what they're looking for. And this is all part of prophecy. Because what's going to happen is, I believe that Trump is establishing, as it says in Daniel chapter 11, verses 40, I think it's 45, or is it? Yeah, I think it's 11:45. It talks about how, let me see. Let's see if I can find it here. Daniel chapter 11, and many people, scholars and, end time prophecy teachers will talk about this passage as being related to the Antichrist of the last day. Now, if you get down into the verse 40 range, it says, at the time of the end, we're talking about the time of the end, the king of the south will engage him in battle. Will engage who in battle? Well, many scholars believe that person that's engaged is the Antichrist. And the king of the south being, some say Egypt, but others say I'm not exactly sure what the king of the south is. I'm trying to remember now. But the king of the north, they're saying is and there's a lot of conversation about Russia being the king of the north, because if you look straight from Jerusalem straight up, you hit Moscow, right? So the king of the north, they say, is Russia. Now, he engages in battle, so people have always said, well, everybody follows the Antichrist, the whole world bows down to him, and no, he has conflict, he has war. It says, who can make war with the beast, right? Because they try to make war with the beast, and they're not successful. But he has opponents in the world, one being the king of the north, which could very well be Russia. And then there's also Let me see if I can find it here. It says he will also invade the beautiful land. Now, some would say that that's Russia or Magog, right? Gog and Magog, that he will invade the beautiful land. Many countries will fall, but Edom, Moab, and the leaders of Ammon, and these are countries like Jordan. If you go back to the ancient countries here, you can find out which countries are. I think one of them is Jordan. There's a couple other countries near there that will be delivered from his hand. He will extend his power over many countries. Egypt will not escape. He will gain control of the treasures of gold and silver and of all the riches of Egypt, with the Libyans and the Cushites in submission. But then it goes on to say, but reports from the east and the north will alarm him. And that would be probably China, right? Because you're looking at a potential million-man army. The Bible says that the Euphrates River will dry up and it will give passageway for the kings of the east in a million-man army. And the only country that could ever marshal an army that size or thereabouts or that close would be China. And is the Euphrates River drying up? Yes, it has been. And it's a lot easier now to cross in many ways, in many parts have dried up to the point where you could probably walk over it. So this actually has been fulfilled, the drying up of the Euphrates, only in the last, 10 years you've been hearing a lot about it. I don't know how dry it is now, but a lot of the reasons too is because I think they're cutting off the supply of water from where the river comes into certain parts of Iran, or what is it, Iran, or is it I'm trying to think of, Iraq? I know it goes through Syria, Iraq, and Iran, right? The Euphrates. And I think it goes through parts of the last part of Egypt, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, so this reports of the east, China, and of the north, Russia, will alarm him, and he will set out in a great rage to destroy and annihilate many. He will pitch his royal tents between the seas at the beautiful holy mountain, yet he will come to his end and no one will help him. So what is this? He will pitch his royal tents between the sea and the beautiful holy mount. What is that? That's the holy mount is the mount of God, right? It's the mount of the temple, the Temple Mount. And the Holy See, and the sea would be like Gaza. If you're going to go straight across, you're looking at the Mediterranean. So holy tent, or his royal tents, would be pitched in a region that could very well be there. Or, I'm sorry, it could have been also, we've also seen some other interesting developments down in Saudi Arabia. If you go between the Holy Mount and the seas of Saudi Arabia, there's a new place that they've built in a palace that's been established, very, very recent, and it's all in development right now. It's a city called Nome, I think it's called. It's like a smart city fortress, and it has a palace that is massive. And that would be going toward the southeast. So if you look, here, I'll show you. So this is the city of Nome. And by the way, it's right near Mount Sinai. You could pretty much see from the Mount Sinai, you could literally see all the development that's going on in this city of Nome. This is so crazy. We were looking at some of the archaeology on this. So if you look right here, okay, so you got Israel. Let me put up my I need to have my cursor on here so you can see what I'm talking about. Whoops. Let's see if that works. Can you see my cursor there? Why not? Why can't you see my cursor? Hold on one second. Okay, I'm going to go over to this other window here because I can see it over here. Okay, so if you go over here, And see, this city they're building is like a big wall. It looks like a big wall. And this is the city of Nome. So, you know, you've got Israel up here. Oh, so you, okay, yeah, okay, here we go. And the Holy Mount and the seas, and you've got a huge kingdom here that's being developed, and a palace that is palatial, and this whole new city, this smart city, right, that's being built. So this could also be, in a certain sense, between the sea, and there's also another sea here, and you know they want to build. They want to build a Ben Gurion Canal through here. Did you know that? They want to build a Ben Gurion Canal that goes from here through Gaza into the Mediterranean. So from here all the way up into the Mediterranean. Now this Ben Gurion Canal has been talked about for quite some time, and in preparation they had to make sure they got everything squared away real estate wise, if you know what I mean. And they didn't want to have to go around Gaza because it would have cost a lot more money, because there's a mountain range in here, and a straight shot would have been a lot easier. I think it goes right through here like this. But if they didn't have the territories, they would have had to go around. Let me just see if I can get a map on this. Yeah, this is not a good map. Let me see if I got get a better map. It's not a good map either, but so you got, I want to get a good map of the Mediterranean here. Hold on. Is this one better? No. Anyways, so this is this city that they're building right there in Saudi Arabia. And there's video now that's coming out of Saudi Arabia, because now everybody's going in there, because there's literally, they're allowing people to go in, and whereas before they didn't allow anybody to go in there. And they're looking at the actual altar of the Israelites when they came out of the wilderness, remember? And they were waiting for Moses to come down from the Mount of God, which is in Arabia. It's in Saudi Arabia. It's not in Egypt. A lot of scholars and a lot of archaeologists have said that this mountain that they say is Sinai is in Egypt. It's not, or right out of Egypt. It's in Saudi Arabia. And so they show where the altar is. You can see all of the petroglyphs that are hearkening back to Egypt because of the certain gods that they worshipped, which was the golden calf. But they were petroglyphs all over this big, huge, massive altar area, right? And then you also see an area right below Mount Sinai where you can see this is the only mountain that has a burned top. The whole mountain is burned at the top. They call it the burned mountain. That's what they call it. All the other mountain ranges near it have the word, what are they? The almonds. It's an almond area where there's almond trees, right? Remember when Aaron's rod that budded was almond? He had an almond staff. Well, that's where he got it, was the almond trees all in that area. But if you look at the mountain, it's up here, you can see there's all burned at the top. It's all the gravel and all the rock is all discolored, and it's dark and it's black. But everything else all around, all the mountain ranges around, everywhere else, just looks like regular mountains, right? But this one mountain, they say that is Mount Sinai. And right below it is where you see the altar where they would have been waiting for Moses, and they decided to, worship the golden calf at a certain point. There's a graveyard near there where there's a whole bunch of Hebrew. They say it is Hebrew, the graveyard where all the people were killed. There was like 3,000 that were put to death as a result of the idolatry. Remember? There was 3,000. And then you can see where the water came from the rock, and there's a split rock that's right there. It's a huge rock, and you can see where the water actually at one point pooled in the location below to feed the flocks. And then there's testimony in the scriptures where it talks about how they go through this passageway, and there's palm trees and a place of rest where they find water, right? There's 12 wells. Well, guess what? The 12 wells are still there to this very day in an oasis of palm trees. How does that happen? And then where the altar was, where they would sacrifice, they had an altar that Moses had built in the area for sacrifice, not for the golden calf, but for the sacrifices. And you can see where the structure still is. You can see the ruins of the structure of the altar and the place where they kept the animals. And what's really interesting is it says that they built 12 pillars. You can still see the pillars. There's still pillars there to this very day, round pillars. If you haven't gone and looked at these videos that are coming out now, they didn't used to allow people to go in there. So the Sauds were very aggressively keeping people out. Ron Wyatt was one of the first ones that was able to get in there and take video footage of it. And I don't think they started letting people in until recent. So now you're seeing all these videos popping up on YouTube where people are going in there and taking video footage, whereas they weren't ever able to do it before. Look, the altar where they sacrificed the golden calf has cows all over it that are etched into the rock. And it shows people worshiping the cows, right, where they're actually holding the cows. This is exactly the same imagery that comes out of Egypt, the same type of images that you would see in Egyptian hieroglyphs, where they put the cow and the people are underneath the cow and they always have their arms up underneath it. And the same imagery. So they would have taken some of the practices of the Egyptians with them, right? And when they were doing some excavating, they found some gold in the rock where they melted remember when Moses basically destroyed the idol? And there was I don't know if he melted it or what, but there was still gold residue on some of the rock in some of the area. And there's also been found at the altar a bunch of bones and ash where they would have had animal bones and sacrifices all throughout that area. So it's the most crazy thing to know. Now this Mount Sinai is right near this city. This city is right there. You can see when people are taking footage, they're not going to be allowing people to go in there anymore because this city is being built right in that whole area, right by the Holy Mount. That's a Holy Mount too, right? You would say that could be considered the Holy Mount, right? So not only is there a Holy Mount in Jerusalem, which is where the temple is, and the sea could also be the Mediterranean, and in between he builds his royal tent or pitches his royal tents. But you could also say the royal tents that are being pitched is this big, massive complex here, which is called Nome. Now, the Saudi prince is building this massive palace. Let's see if I can find it. This massive palace, and they say it's a secretive, unbuilt megacity. They're saying it's unbuilt. Now this is the royal palace right here. Nome is a $1.5 trillion megacity to have royal palace for Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. Now, could it be that Mohammed bin Salman decides to gift it to somebody? Or maybe he becomes a part of the ruling member or whatever? Like, who knows? Like really what? Think about it. Let me pull it up here. I'll show you. This was in 2024. From what I understand, the palace is already being built, or it has been built. So this city is 105 miles long, and it's in a line. It's a city that's like a big wall. It looks like a massive line in the desert. And I don't know why they're doing it like that, but it's supposed to either save the environment or something. But let's go back and see if we can find the actual palace, what it looks like. This is luxurylaunches.com. Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman is building the mother of all palaces for himself in the $1.5 trillion Nome city. This fortress has 10 helipads, its own golf course, and so it is so massive that you don't even have to fully zoom in to see it from a satellite orbiting at 450 kilometers above the Earth. This is the palace here. Look at that. $1.5 trillion. Is this not the royal tents? It's right there. You see that right there? Let me see if you can see that. Right there is the palace from satellite. You can see it from satellite. Look at that. This is it right here. But this is a satellite picture right here. This is something else. This is a Chateau Louis. This is a 10 bedroom mansion. This is outside of Paris. I don't know why this is here, but that's an advertisement. The heck. All right, so I don't know what all this is. Okay, so here it is. 110 mile long horizontal city, the Line, it's called the Line. Nome has unveiled a breathtaking 500-meter hidden marina set to house 200,000 residents. This futuristic marvel will feature 80,000 luxury homes and 9,000 opulent hotel rooms. I don't know. It's really weird looking. Whatever that is, I have no idea. So, what the heck? Is that part? That's like the beginning of the structure. Okay, so is this like the actual the wall? Because it's supposed to be considered like a big walled city. You see how they're preparing? So this is a wall here. You see this? And it reflects the desert, but it's very high up in the air. You see how high up it is? And it goes 110 miles. This is like your 15-minute city almost, or whatever. You can go anywhere within this region and within 15 minutes get everything you need. You don't even have to, you're not going to be able to travel anywhere except, Oh, they're developing a ski resort, supposedly, right near Mount Sinai, right? Making its own snow and everything. Weird. Dude, I was looking at some of these videos and I'm just like astonished. Honey, if you can pull up some of those videos, that would be amazing. Those ones that we were watching the other night. Oh, yeah, that one there. Okay, let me turn that down because that's very loud. Okay, so that's pretty much that. I wanted to show you a map. I'll show you the map, the Google Earth map. Let's just take you there. So we can kind of get an idea of what it looks like. I'll take you there. All right, here we go. So here is Google. Here's Google Earth, and you've got this city of Nome. I wanted to show you guys really quick, though, the I believe this proposed Ben Gurion Canal is right here, and it's going to go right through here, and or there's like a mountain range somewhere in here, and it's going to go right here. This is supposed to be a huge amount of money. Moneymaker, right? Right through Gaza, right? There's the Gaza Strip. There's the Gaza Strip right here. You see the Gaza Strip. And you're talking about this right here being the Ben Gurion Canal going up through here like this and cutting right through. They wanted to make the shortest route because if they didn't get the Gaza Strip, you see how the Gaza Strip is right here? Look, like this is where its line is right here. And they want to go straight through like this, right along their border. They didn't want to have to take it all the way around, because they would have had to take it around. You see how Gaza Strip's in the way of a Ben Gurion Canal? So this Ben Gurion Canal would have been in the way. Gaza would have been right in the way. You see that? But now that Gaza is owned and it's prime real estate, according to Donald Trump, prime real estate. This is like, what do you call it? He called it something. I forget what he called it. In the Mediterranean. They're looking at this as being the massive moneymaker, because not only will it bring in billions and billions of dollars just from the canal itself, because they got to pay tolls, right? There's a toll that goes through there. Huge amount of cargo and ships and everything that's going to connect. Instead of going through here, they can go right through Israel into the Mediterranean. This is a major port. Then you don't have to go through the Strait of Hormuz, right? You don't have to go through the Strait of Hormuz. You could just come down and through here, and Yemen's already been taken care of, right? They've been neutralized. Oh, a Riviera by the Mediterranean. That's what Trump calls it. The Riviera by the Mediterranean. So Gaza is a Riviera by the Mediterranean. And the Ben Gurion Canal would have had to go like this. Whoop, whoop, all the way around. And you know how much money, that extra money that would have cost to go all the way around here like that? A lot. So why not just get rid of Gaza? Get rid of all this. And then you can just make a straight shot, right? See, right along the border here with Egypt. Straight here. There you go. Now, royal tents are definitely being set there as well. But if you're looking at Jerusalem being right here, where is the Temple Mount? Let's see how close we can get on this. Where is the Temple Mount? Am I just not seeing it here? I'm probably blind to it here. Okay, here we go. Wow, that's pretty clear, huh? From satellite? All right, so you got this right here, Temple Mount. Right there, right where Jerusalem is. The word Jerusalem. And if that is the royal tents, then it also could be the royal tents that are being pitched down here. Let's see where that city of Nome is. Am I spelling it wrong? Okay, so city of Nome is right there. And let's see if we get directions to Mount Sinai. Okay, I want to show you where Mount Sinai is. They probably aren't going to say it because I'll show you. Okay, I told you guys about this guy, Expedition Bible. This guy is great. You got to check this guy out. Do you have it? Oh, it's Jabal? Okay, so I'm going to show you part of this video here. Turn you guys on to this guy. He's really good. He's probably one of the best archaeologists out there. He's one of the best. So Jabal, it's called Mount Sinai is Jabal Makalla. Let's go check that out. We'll go with maps. And we'll take a look at it like this. So this is the place where they say Mount Sinai. You see how it's all dark? You see how this whole area is like burnt? Nowhere else is it like this. Let's see if I can find the altar. Okay, this might be the valley right here where the altar is. This is Ron Wyatt's Sinai photograph. Anyway, so this area right here. Okay, here's the altar of the golden calf, they say right here, like right here. Oh, and they found the smelting site as well, where they actually forged the calf. Right? And here's the altar. This is what they say is the altar. And if you look at this altar here, you can see all of the golden calves, the pictorial calves or the bulls all around. And this thing is all fenced off. So they have a fence around it. It's an archaeological site because it's so significant, right? And then the smelting area was over there where they actually smelted and forged it right there. Let's see here. So here is Mount Sinai. Here is the golden calf, or where they would have made the altar. Right here. You see how it's right by Sinai? Look how close it is. Okay. And then the rock that was split where the water came out of is here too. But look at how close it is to this city of Nome. Let's look at that really quick. Directions. Well, they show construction of a bunch of stuff really close by. The ski resort is off to the right. Off to the right where? Okay, so this thing is supposed to be, this city of Nome is supposed to be 100 miles long, right? So this is the city, if I'm not mistaken. Let me make sure what the city looks like here. Hold on. I think this is the directions. Let me get the actual city dimensions here. City of Nome, Saudi. Okay. NEOM. Let's see what the map says here. Map. Okay, so I'm guessing, is this what we're looking at here? This long strip? They say it's 100 miles long. Dome project site. But it goes from here all the way across. Here's another part of the city. It goes all the way through here. I'm pretty sure that it goes all the way through this area. And then Sinai is over here. You see how Sinai looks dark? See how that one mountain is all dark right there? You see how that mountain is all dark? It's the only mountain that looks burnt. And they call it the burnt mountain. They call it the mountain that's burned. That's what they call it in the original language of the area. See, there's the golden calf area right there. Moses' altar, it says right here. And then there's so Moses' altar is here. And look, the Moses' altar, we saw it on the thing here. Let me see if I can find it. You can literally, there it is right there. You see that? That's the altar where that's the place where they kept the animals, was in that area. Now the altar is also here too. And they found all the bones and everything, the ash. And I believe this is the altar right here. This right here is the altar. This was where they kept the animals here. And it's all still there. And then there's these pillars. You can see the pillars right here. Like there's like 12, there's supposed to be 12 pillars, right? In the Bible, it says 12 pillars. They're right here. You can see the actual round pillars, still pieces of the round pillars laying on the ground, just all right through here. Where they made, because remember, they put the pillars up and they made sacrifices, right? It's right there. It's right there. Now, they tried to desecrate the actual, listen to this. So they took pictures before this became public of the altar, and it shows they took pictures before, and what happened was some of the Arabs went in and they desecrated they tried to erase any Hebrew connection. So they tried to erase this one pictograph that shows the menorah. Yeah, and there's old pictures of it before they desecrated it, and you can see the two side by side and how they're exact, except for they chipped out the menorah. They don't want you to know that that's an actual Hebrew altar. So it is connected to. It's not that far. Let's see what the distance is. It's 136 kilometers, I guess, from this area here. You said that it was the ski resort was where? To the right? Is this the ski resort? See, I mean, that's Sinai right there. That's Sinai. Yeah, the biblical Sinai. Okay, so this is what they say is biblical Sinai right here. So it says biblical Sinai. And I think it's right in there. I think it's right in here. Anyways, let's see if I can find that video. How do you spell Sinai? I know I'm spelling it wrong. There's so many good videos in here. You got to just check this guy's channel out. I mean, this one with the mummies is amazing. This one with the mummies and the pharaoh. This pharaoh is the pharaoh of the Exodus. He still has. He's the only mummy that they found that has boils, and his son was buried in his tomb, which never happens with any of the pharaohs. Their relatives are never buried in their. Especially the children. But this male child was buried in his tomb. It wasn't his channel? Oh, well, which one was it? Send it to me. But this one does show that he does talk about the Mount Sinai. He does talk about the altar, doesn't he? This guy pulls up so much stuff. It's so amazing. You got to check this guy's channel out. We'll sit here and watch these with our kids, and we're just like amazed at all the stuff that this guy gets into. So if you get a chance to check him out, his name Expedition Bible. Expedition Bible. if you know your Bible, you'll be able to see all this stuff. It's like right there in the archaeology. All right, so let me see if I can find the that other dude's video. Where is it? Do you remember that the guy's video? I want to show him what it looks like. Can you remember? I'm going to show you this video that shows the actual location and what the all of the pictographs and the altar, the actual pillars, Moses's, and what Mount Sinai looks like up close. I'll show you in a minute. And this is all right near that area. They show all the building going on too. When they're going in there, there's all this construction going on everywhere in the area, not just in Nome, but all around that whole area. It's being completely desecrated. They're literally desecrating the area. But you would wonder, why would they want to pitch their royal tents next to the Holy Mount, right? Isn't that interesting? Was it that one? I don't know. It was that guy that was like, I don't think that was it. Well, maybe it was. I don't know. I don't know if that was the guy or not. Let me see. It was that other guy that was sitting up there. Remember, he was crying. He was like crying on the mountain. This guy sounds like SpongeBob, the SpongeBob commentator, where he's like, 3 years later, 3 years later. Listen to him. Tell me if he doesn't sound like it. He shows the archaeology. Let's just take a listen.
Archaeological sites by the Saudi government. They erected a fence around it in an effort to preserve the site. On the ground, we can see large boulders that comprise the base of the altar. These figures resemble to Egyptian god Hathor, the god of prosperity. The bull was placed in high esteem in Egypt, where the children of Israel were slaves for 400 years. So they created images that were natural to their rebellious heart. The judgment of these idolaters was
Honey, just go back in the history. You'll find it in history, right? See if you can find it in history.
great, as 3,000 men fell by the sword that day. An enclosed primitive graveyard can be found not so far from the golden calf altar. This is most likely the location where they buried the corpse of the idolaters.
Okay, so I don't want to play all the music, but I'm sure the music's got covered. Okay, so here's where this is the one where they defaced the rock because they didn't want the Hebrew menorah to be seen as a part of the structure. They didn't want it to in any way be connected to the Hebrews, and so that it would confirm, biblical archaeology would confirm that this was in fact the Exodus. Right, so they had them come. Some of the Arabs, I think they said Arabs, did this where they desecrated it. So it's in 2006 it was pictured, and then here in 2021 it was desecrated. You see that? It's exactly the same thing, but somebody tried to hide it. See, they chipped it away.
It was a 7-branch chandelier right here. We're gonna show you the before and after picture.
He said the chandelier. And then you see pictures. These are actually ancient Hebrew letters. If you look at the ancient Hebrew letter table there, you'll see it. It's the X, which is the Tav.
In the region correspond with the letters of the ancient Hebrew alphabet, as we can see here with the letter Tav, Tet, and He.
All right, so this is the video right here on this one. If you want to go check it out, it's called The Real Mount Sinai. Now, the other one I wanted to show you was this one right here. This is the guy that we were talking about, where he shows a lot of footage. Let's see if I
My
can
God,
find it.
and I will praise him, my father's God, and I will exalt him.
So we're in Elam, the 12 springs and 72 palm trees. Behind me is where they would have come from the Red Sea, up through this channel, this chasm.
After such a traumatic event of being chased by Pharaoh's army, as Psalm 23 states, the Lord is the good shepherd and leads them beside quiet waters, to lie down among green pastures, to restore their souls before going on in their journey.
And by the way, there were 12 wells there. To this day, some of them are still being used.
As soon as we started driving in, man, I was like, I felt something. Felt something. Like right now, the presence of God is so strong. We just arrived at Horeb, but we're here at the split rock. So if you just look up, you can see we're at the base of it, where Moses struck the rock and it split and the water poured out and came down this valley, filled this whole area with water for the people and for the animals. Yeah, I'm shaking like a leaf on a tree. It's like crazy. The presence of God is so strong. This is just, you just sense such this holy ground. So we're gonna climb and we'll be able to see it from the vantage point from up there. So this is where the water would have pooled down into that area down there, flowing and forming like a small lake where that whitish sand is. It's things like this that makes you like see how understated the Bible can be. He struck a rock. It's amazing that it didn't describe how massive it was. Wow. I just think it's undeniable to me. The way that the flaking of the rock is, like it doesn't look like rain erosion coming from the top, it's coming from the bottom up. And it says in the scriptures that Jesus, this is symbolic of Jesus as the rock that brought forth water, that he is the living water, and that all who come to him will never thirst.
All right, I'm going to show you some other stuff here.
Against powerful significance, there was a doorway where the sacrifices were made. There were German archaeologists that came here and they dug down into that altar area and they did find ash and animal bones to confirm that that was indeed an area where there was animal sacrifice. Pinpoint accuracy of the biblical account of Moses' altar that he made at the foot of the mountain as he was commanded to by God, and where sacrifice and atonement was made for the people and the blood to be spilled for the remission of sins.
The people gathered together to Aaron and said to him, "Come, make us a god that shall go before us." Aaron said, "Break off your golden earrings," and he fashioned a golden calf. Then they said, "These are your gods, Israel, who brought you up out of Egypt."
So there's two parts. There's a molten calf that he fashioned out of gold, but it also says that they engraved in the altar these gods. And so around this altar are these engravings of cows, of bulls, which would be the god Hathor, which the Israelites would have learned from their time in Egypt. And they're in different places around here, even showing some holding onto the horns, which are things that would have happened, what they were doing. And it says they brought peace offerings and the people sat down to eat and drink and rose up to play. And as we were told here, we learn here, that word is very clear what they were doing. It's right in the presence of Mount Sinai, where Moses was meeting with God.
What a tragedy that the gift the Lord had given them in riches and gold from Egypt, they had turned into idolatry. And Moses said, "Whoever is on the Lord's side, come to me." And all the sons of Levi gathered themselves together to him. And he said to them, "Thus says the Lord God of Israel, let every man put his sword on his side, and go in and out from entrance to entrance throughout the camp, and let every man kill his brother, every man his companion, and every man his neighbor." So the sons of Levi did according to the word of Moses. And about 3,000 men of the people fell that day.
These are actually marked red. This has only happened within the last 2 months, that archaeologists have come in and confirmed that this is a mass burial ground. They wanted to confirm it's not Arabian or Egyptian, but that this is in fact Jewish in its style. And so this is a confirmation to the 3,000 that were killed because of their not repenting from making the golden calf.
A great and powerful wind tore the mountains apart and shattered the rocks before the Lord, but the Lord was not in the wind. After the wind, there was an earthquake.
So there's like a cave up there that they say is Elijah's cave as well. And he goes into Elijah's cave. They say it's Elijah's cave where he saw the... Now here's the... there's a plateau of the elders right before you go up into Mount Sinai, and they say this is the plateau. And then the burnt area at the top is what we're talking about as Mount Sinai, where the fire of God would be up and upon the mountain. And it's the only mountain area that is burnt up there. Literally, they call it the burnt mountain. And the other areas around have to do with the rod that the almond tree, right? There's a lot of almond trees around there. And that's exactly where Aaron got his rod that budded. And it was the definition and the defining of God on who the leader of because there was a big stir against who the leaders were, right? Who's the leader? Who's the real leadership? And there was a confrontation by others that said that Aaron wasn't the leader and that Moses wasn't the leader. There was like a rebellion, right? But God confirmed who he had chosen by the rod that was an almond branch that budded, right? And if you look inside the Ark of the Covenant, what's inside there? There's the rod that budded, there's the 10 Commandments, the broken 10 Commandments, and the pot of manna, right? All of that represents rebellion and sin, right? The broken commandments, the rod that budded was also representing those who rebelled, and many fell in their rebellion because of that. And then the manna was also God's provision, but it was also their not wanting the manna. That was a representation of their rebellion as well, because they rejected it. Remember, they wanted the quail.
So this is the evidence of Exodus 24, where the Lord told Moses to come up with Aaron and his 2 sons with the 70 elders, where they would meet together, and it said they ate before the presence of God, which is such a powerful picture of communion with the Almighty, with Yahweh. And then Moses was told to go on by himself to the peak.
Mount Sinai was covered with smoke, because the Lord descended on it in fire. The smoke billowed up from it like smoke from a furnace, and the whole mountain trembled violently. As the sound of the trumpet grew louder and louder, Moses spoke, and the voice of God answered him. The Lord descended to the top of Mount Sinai and called Moses to the top of the mountain. So Moses went up.
Glory to God! Oh man, we're in the presence of God. Glory to you, God. Black on the out. Amazing. Oh, Father.
When Moses went up on the mountain, the cloud covered it, and the glory of the Lord settled on Mount Sinai. For 6 days the cloud covered the mountain, and on the 7th day the Lord called to Moses from within the cloud. To the Israelites the glory of the Lord looked like a consuming fire on top of the mountain. Then Moses entered the cloud as he went on up the mountain, and he stayed on the mountain 40 days and 40 nights.
Well, that's it. Well, what do you think? Is that crazy? Crazy amazing? So yeah, if you get a chance, check out those archaeological videos. They're really good. So City of Nome, that also could be the royal tents as well, because it is between the Gulf of Aqaba, and that's the Gulf of Aqaba, and as well as the the Red Sea. So the Red Sea as well, and the Holy Mount, because that would be considered the Holy Mount as well, wouldn't it? like I said, there's lots of potential there. And, you know, Mohammed bin Salman literally looked like he was worshiping Trump on their last summit meeting. I don't know if you saw that, but they look like they had a bromance to the point where Mohammed bin Salman looked like he was in tears, putting his hand on his heart. Oh, please don't go, Trump. Please don't go. Did you see that? Did you ever see that? Right, the last meeting they had? Oh my gosh. Everybody was making like, what is going on there? But anyways, God bless all of you out there. I appreciate all you guys being with us and praying with us and being a part of our fellowship. We're kind of ramping up the gathering once again. So if you want to be a part of that, get connected to our Patreon account. You don't have to pay or anything. You could just be a part, and you'll get the alerts when we go live. And come on in. They rolled out the red carpet. Let's see. Yeah, and they found the chariot wheels in some of the waters there, right near where they would have crossed. They found chariot wheels. That's all been confirmed. Chariot wheels that had like, you know, crustaceans all over them that were kind of preserved. But yeah, definitely interesting stuff, to say the least. Yeah, archaeology that confirms the Bible. And the links are there. And let's see, is there anything else we need to talk about before I go? I'm trying to think. I think that's it. All right. You guys all good? The link, my wife posted the link in there. You just scroll up. Molly, just scroll up. Or are you talking about the Patreon link? Yeah, and become a member of either the YouTube channel or our Patreon. It should be right below in the description. You should be able to find it there. And also get connected to the app. And when you get the app, become a member by clicking the right top hand corner. In fact, I'll just show this on the way out. Let's just say, thank you, Lord, for blessing the people here that are watching with your word, with your presence, with your truth that is embedded in the rock. It's embedded in the world that we have, that we live in, the history of our planet. Let everyone see clearly who you truly are in spirit and in truth. And may you hear from the Lord very soon. Get your heart right with God if you don't have it already right. The time is definitely short. All right, so we'll be talking to you guys real soon. God bless, and I will see you on the flip side. I'm sure this thing is about to go hot anytime. I know people keep saying, Robert, you keep saying it's coming. It's coming. It's getting close. It's getting really close now. So get ready. I can feel the heat. I can feel it. It's getting hotter. All right, guys. God bless. Love you all. BP News here. The new app is available for download at the Apple and Android stores. Get notified instantly when breaking news takes place via the push notification feature if you are just a guest and downloaded, or if you become a member by clicking the upper right-hand corner where the little person icon is to register with BP News. You'll also get a text alert with other community features that will become available when you are a registered member. Do it now before breaking news really hits the fan. Robert here at BP News. Wanted to let you know that we've got the early warning alert system set up. It is the BP News app. Don't miss out on breaking news when it happens in real time. You will get a push notification and or a text alert. in order to get the text alert, once you download the app, make sure you hit the right top hand corner icon, little person icon up there, and register with your phone number, and that way we can send you a text alert. Otherwise, just use it as a guest and get the push notification. That comes directly through the app, and you'll see an alert when we go live. Stay in touch with all of our social media as well here at BP News. God bless. All right, so I just had to check it because I had the wrong one on there. The other one I didn't like. That one was better, right? The second one was better. I didn't sound all hyper on the first one. I sounded all crazy hyper. So I just redid it and talked normal. Sounds much better. Okay, guys. God bless. We'll talk to you soon.